Snow fell softly against the glass windows of a grand but silent mansion that sat on the edge of a hill, overlooking the sleeping city below. Inside, every light glowed warmly, but there was no laughter, no music, and no family gathered around a fire. Only a man stood near the tall window, holding a glass of untouched wine, his reflection staring back at him, lonely, distant, and broken behind a mask of success. His name was Ethan Cole, one of the youngest and most powerful CEOs in the country. To the world, he was the definition of achievement. But to himself, he was just a man who had everything, except someone to share it with. Every Christmas, the same silence filled his mansion, reminding him that no amount of wealth could buy the sound of joy. Before we continue this heart-touching story, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of love to heal even the coldest hearts. Ethan's story wasn't always this cold. Once, Christmas meant laughter, love, and homemade gingerbread cookies with his parents in their small home. But life changed when he lost his mother to illness and his father walked out soon after. Those painful memories hardened him. He grew up believing that love was a distraction, a weakness. He built his empire from scratch, dedicating every second to business, ignoring holidays, birthdays, and any reminder that there was a world beyond his office walls. For years, the media portrayed him as a ruthless genius, but no one knew that every December 25th, Ethan would stand alone by that same window, pretending not to care that no one was coming. This Christmas was no different, or so he thought. Outside, snow blanketed everything in white, and the quiet of the night was so deep it almost seemed sacred. Ethan turned away from the window and sat by the fireplace, opening an old box filled with forgotten Christmas cards and faded photographs. One picture, him as a boy, holding his mother's hand near a Christmas tree, made his chest ache. He quickly shut the box, trying to bury the emotion before it consumed him. That's when he heard it, a faint knock on the door. At first, he ignored it. Nobody ever came to his house, and he assumed it was a delivery gone wrong. But the knocking came again, softer, almost hesitant. Confused, he walked to the door, his footsteps echoing in the vast emptiness of his home. When he opened it, the icy wind rushed in along with two figures, a young woman wrapped in a worn coat, and a little girl with rosy cheeks and a box wrapped in red paper. The woman looked nervous, clutching her daughter's shoulders protectively, while the little girl smiled brightly despite the cold. For a moment, Ethan just stared, unsure what to say. The woman apologized, explaining that their car had broken down nearby and they had nowhere to go. They had been delivering homemade cookies to neighbors, trying to spread some Christmas cheer, and his house was the only one with lights still on. Ethan hesitated, every instinct told him to say no, to stay detached, but something in the child's eyes stopped him. She looked at him not with fear or pity, but with warmth. It had been years since anyone had looked at him like that. Against every habit he'd built, he invited them inside. The warmth of the fire touched their frozen hands as Ethan offered them blankets and tea. The woman introduced herself as Claire and her daughter as Lily. They were staying in a small apartment across town, barely making ends meet. Claire had been working double shifts at a bakery after her husband left, doing everything she could to keep life normal for her daughter. Lily, clutching the little red box, shyly opened it and offered Ethan a cookie she had helped bake. It was slightly misshapen, with too much icing and uneven edges, but it smelled like cinnamon and home. Ethan accepted it, feeling a lump in his throat as he took a bite. It was the first homemade thing he'd eaten in years. As they warmed up by the fire, Claire and Lily filled the house with small laughter and soft conversation. Lily ran around admiring the grand Christmas tree that Ethan's staff had decorated, but he had never cared to notice. Claire thanked him repeatedly for his kindness, but Ethan felt that he should be the one thanking them. For the first time in forever, his home didn't feel empty. He found himself listening to their stories, learning about their struggles, their dreams, and their small moments of joy. Claire spoke about how she wanted to open her own bakery one day and how Lily wanted to make sure everyone in the world had cookies on Christmas. Ethan smiled, a real smile, and that surprised him. The hours passed like minutes, and by midnight, snow had stopped falling. Claire insisted they could find their way back once the storm cleared, but Ethan couldn't bring himself to let them leave. He offered to drive them home the next day, but asked if they'd stay the night. Claire hesitated, but Lily, already curled up with a blanket by the fireplace, convinced her mother with sleepy eyes. That night, as Ethan watched them drift off to sleep, he felt a strange warmth in his heart, a peace he hadn't known since childhood. The next morning, the sunlight danced off the snow, and the house was alive with movement. Claire prepared breakfast using whatever she could find in his kitchen, and Lily decorated pancakes with syrup and berries, giggling at her messy art. Ethan sat at the table, watching them with quiet amazement. It felt unreal, like a dream he didn't want to end. Before they left, Lily ran up to him with a piece of paper she had drawn. It showed a tall man, a woman, and a little girl standing together beside a Christmas tree. Above it, in shaky handwriting, she had written, "Thank you for not being alone this Christmas." Something in him broke. Not in pain, but in healing. Ethan realized that all the success in the world meant nothing without love, kindness, or connection. He insisted on driving them home, but before they could step outside, he made a promise to himself, he would never spend another Christmas in silence again. In the weeks that followed, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about them. He found himself visiting the small bakery where Claire worked, always buying more cookies than he needed. Slowly, what started as gratitude turned into friendship, and friendship into something deeper. Ethan helped Claire open her dream bakery, but more than that, he found a reason to smile again. The once cold CEO began to change. His employees noticed he was kinder, his company started donating to charities, and he personally visited shelters during Christmas, bringing food and gifts for children who had no one. The man who once locked his heart behind mansion walls was now sharing it with the world. A year later, on Christmas Eve, Ethan's home glowed once again, but this time, it was alive. Claire and Lily were there, baking cookies in his kitchen, laughter echoing through every room. The same snow fell outside, but inside there was warmth, love, and the smell of cinnamon in the air. As Lily placed the star on top of the Christmas tree, Ethan realized he no longer felt like that lonely reflection in the glass. He wasn't just a CEO anymore, he was part of a family. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Your support helps us spread more stories of compassion and hope to the world. And before you go, please take a moment to comment, "Love can heal anything," if you believe that even the loneliest hearts can find their way home again. That Christmas, Ethan didn't just receive a knock on his door, he received a miracle. And for the rest of his life, he made sure no one around him ever had to spend Christmas alone again. He asked her to stay, not out of obligation, but because she was now family. The moment felt like a quiet miracle. Snow continued falling softly, the lights of the city flickering like 1,000 tiny blessings. And for the first time in years, Emma felt like she belonged somewhere. Sparkles, if this story touched your heart even a little, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. It truly encourages us to create more meaningful stories for you. Sparkles. Before we end, speech balloon special request, comment below, what was the most emotional moment for you in this story?